If I could only make one thing for the rest of my life, it would be store jars. There's no other shape that brings quite as much satisfaction as trimming both components, body and lid, so they slot together perfectly. In this case, the lid was a tiny bit tight, so I pressed it out carefully with a piece of wood to widen the opening by just a fraction. Now I know that fits, I can begin thinning the walls to make the vessel especially light. This isn't a heavy object to begin with, and typically, in my practice, I think I trim beyond what's conventional. In part, this is because I like thin and delicate pots, but these pots will also be coated by a relatively thick glaze, which adds a considerable amount of weight back to the vessel. Thus, if they were left pretty thickly potted to begin with, they'd actually end up much heavier than I'd like, especially considering the style of lids I make are quite hefty in their design. With the lid and walls and shoulder trimmed, the body of the jar is detached from the wheel head, which I do by sliding a sharp metal knife underneath it. The tightly fitting lid will hold this part in place as I turn it. Yet, when I trim towards the edge, the entire shape will want to topple over to one side. So in order to prevent that, I always have to apply some sort of downward pressure in the center. The lid is then double checked for one last bit of quality control, and eventually it'll end up looking a bit like one of these.